Can you guys hear me now? Sorry about that. There is a shark attack. We can't hear you. Yes, you can. Yes, you can, though. This was all a psychological operation to see if you were paying attention. Can you hear me now, people? Come on. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Sorry about that. There was a shark attack. Should I reenact that for the people who were here when I first started and couldn't see me or hear me get attacked by a shark? It was very traumatizing. Can you guys hear me now or what? What's the deal? Okay. I'm just trying to make sure my audience is paying attention to me, and it looks like you guys are. So hello. As I was saying before, shark attack! There is a shark attack in this live stream and no one could hear my pleas. How are you? It's TGIF. Hello, Candace, and everyone. I saw Candace, Dr. Candace checking in. We have a ton of people in here. Sarah, what's up? Randy, how's it going? We pay close attention. All right. Rikers, how's it going? I'm sorry, what's that? I wasn't paying attention. Hey, that's all right. Let's see. Okay, so as I was saying before this whole kerfuffle, I have 48 ounces right here of love in the jar. Oh, yes. This is kombucha. If you haven't tried kombucha, it's amazing. This is Synergy. It's a blend of green tea. So kombucha is basically cultured or fermented tea, not cultured, but fermented tea. And the ingredients, lemon juice, raspberry, ginger, and 100% pure love. It's good. Today's topic, we're talking about the best framework, best JavaScript framework for 2020. I'm talking about front-end frameworks. And I have a list here. I'm going to be showing you, I'm going to do a screen share and show you guys this somewhat disturbing list of some popular frameworks because there's a lot of them. But before we do, I have in my grubby little hands a printout of my new learning platform. It's not live yet. And here's the kicker. So the other day, a couple days ago, I posted this on the community tab on YouTube, a business card for RealToughCandy.io. This is my new learning platform. A ton of engagement. The platform isn't even live yet. And somehow 10 people signed up. I was like, what? How is that possible? But like 10 people signed up for it, but they're not enrolled in courses or anything. They just signed up and are waiting for it to open up. So shout out to you all who joined the other day. I didn't even know that was a thing, but so RealToughCandy.io is dropping in exactly 1 month. Monday, August 24th, 2020. We are unleashing this platform. The motto is you can level up, land a job, and get a raise. And this is how I know people, so there, we got some skeptics in the audience, all right? And I'll admit, I even was skeptical about starting a platform because I'm like, does the world really need another platform? It turns out it does, because there are a lot of developers out there right now who have these tech skills, but they don't know exactly where to go and they don't know exactly how to apply them in order to get to the next phase. And that is landing a job, getting a raise, expanding your skills and applying those skills so you can actually get paid for them. Because let's be honest, that's why most of us are here, right? If this career field didn't pay so well, I don't think I'd be here. But anyways, so this is the course list. Let me read off the list, because we're not doing intro to JavaScript. There are so many amazing JavaScript courses out there. There's literally tens of thousands of them for blogs, video courses, interactive. I could name you some amazing JavaScript courses. There's enough out there for every man, woman, and child. So here is a selection of the courses we're going to be offering there. How to get a job in web development, show you how to apply your skills to actually get a job. Freelance Newbie, if you want to get started with freelance web development and actually make some money. Show you step-by-step how to get started. Portfolio Surgery, making your portfolio pop. I show you 5 methods for completely transforming any cookie cutter project. It's you won't believe how we go from cookie cutter project to complete transformation using these 5 methods. And I have a project, a dummy project, if you will, because the course is designed for you to pick your own projects and transform them so they look amazing and employers want to see them and talk to you more about them, and they can see your problem solving process rather than you coding along with one of these awesome all-in-one bootcamp courses. Also, designs and deadlines, practical UX UI for web developers, web developer focused. If you lose a UX UI team for whatever reason, your company's shrinking, maybe you never had a UX UI team. Maybe it's just a responsibility that you were given on the fly. Maybe you're a freelancer and you want to know how to do mock-ups, prototypes, how to transform designs into code. We show you that. We also tear down popular websites, and you can see exactly the UX UI components that make these sites so popular. And some of these examples, you're going to be scratching your head. We use Amazon as an example when we tear one of these down. You're going to see some of these components and say, what were they thinking? Yeah, so that's really going to be a really fun course. And then professional communication for junior developers. What happens when you accidentally drop a database at work? Sorry. Yeah. Sorry ain't gonna cut it. What do you actually do? What do you do when you have a coworker who is your senior who's telling you things that are distracting or counterintuitive or just don't make any sense, but yet they have a lot of things to offer at the same time? Like, how do you navigate these common situations when you're the FNG, the freaking new guy, the freaking new gal? How do you do that? So that's professional communication. There's a scenario-based professional communication for junior developers. And so we're going to have, you can buy the courses a la carte. We're also going to have monthly plans and yearly plans. And either of those plans, monthly or yearly, you're going to have access to an exclusive video, high def video and photo royalty-free database of just picture after picture that you can use, crispy, high quality photos, crispy videos that you can use royalty-free in projects, even for commercial purposes, but you have to be a monthly or yearly member for that. And there's a ton of other bonuses and stuff, but this is happening in 1 month. If you are a supporter of this channel, you are gonna get some, I wanted to have exclusive access, a few days previous before we launched, but it turns out with the software as a service that I'm using, you can't do that. Like, it's either open or it's closed. So I am going to be DMing you guys very shortly here on the next couple, probably next week or so, with either all access pass for my VIPs, which I do have so many VIPs. Thank you so much for your support, or a coupon if you are a financial supporter of Patreon, YouTube channel member. So thank you so much for your support. But you're going to be hearing more about this because this is a big deal. We got a team of people working on this thing, and just so hyped. And then we're going to be dropping courses after we debut every 4 months. So 3 a year, maybe even 4. Maybe we'll do a little bonus course. And you will have a heads up of what to expect, kind of like a school lunch menu. Like, oh, they're doing Italian dunkers next week. I don't know. So you can determine, like, okay, yeah, this is going to be good 3 months from now, 6 months from now. I don't want to miss this one. So you don't have to guess what we'll be producing. It's not, and everything we do is going to be for the purpose of you landing a job, leveling up, getting a raise. That's it. No theoreticals. Like, there's enough of that stuff that does a really good job of it. So that was a big news drop. Let's talk about today's topic. Best JavaScript framework in 2020. How do you define best? I think everything, did Dante say this? All arguments start with the definition. So let's define best. In this context, probably somewhere between most popular and the biggest potential for getting a job. Like, I don't know, best or ease of use. Like, what is kind of all those easy to use, relatively easy to use, gonna have some job opportunities, and gonna have that community support. So when I say popular, it's not because, oh yeah, this is a popularity contest. No, if something's popular, it's gonna have a lot of community support, and there's gonna be some great documentation. There's gonna be some great Discord groups, email lists, other places, great documentation and support where you can get some help if you get stuck. So let me share my screen here and we can go through this list. This is actually on GitHub. Let's see, what the heck? Where's my thingamajig? Hold on one sec. Let's see. Where's my frickin' screen share? Here we go. Okay, here it is. Ba-boom. Front-end JavaScript frameworks. Sharing. Can you guys see this? Good. Well, then, good. Front-end JavaScript frameworks. While the number of ways to organize JavaScript is almost infinite, here are some tools that help you build single-page applications. Good old SPAs. So a lot of these maybe might sound a little unfamiliar. Some of these are popular, but you just don't see them in job listings. So fortunately, this list is actually not as crazy as I thought it was going to be. But let me sound off here. Marco, Mithral, Angular, Ember, Knockout, To Do MVC, Spine, Vue, Polymer, React, Simple. Simple. It's like very Russian. It is film simple. Framework, or Aurelia, sorry. Aurelia framework, I guess. Nuclear.js, Backbone, Dojo, HyperApp, Riot, Material, Lit Element, Aurelia, Svelte, we're going to talk about this one in just a sec, Neo, and Preact. Now, of all this list, if we are talking about best in terms of jobs, in terms of popularity, where those two things intersect, right here. Huge community every way you look, no matter how you look at it, huge community. People who develop in React are everywhere. We have the front-end UX UI people who are dabbling in JavaScript. We have front-end developers. We have full stack developers. We have people at companies who have no idea what a framework is or a library, JavaScript library, but they've heard of React. They heard Facebook uses it, so they want to use it. They want their team, their dev team, to start coding things using React. And then the other candidate, now this one is getting less and less love, and we do see this a lot in, someone told me this, someone gave me the heads up that in the Microsoft community, in the .NET community, Angular is kind of heating up, or has been hot, maybe? I don't know if that's past tense or not. Maybe it might still be a big thing, but Angular, even though I don't talk about it a lot on this channel, and it's not React, so it's like, oh, why bother? But lots of job postings for Angular, and Angular developers aren't doing so bad. So let's talk about popular, but jobs maybe not connecting right there. Vue. I've said this a lot of times on this channel, but we just haven't seen the commercial adoption of Vue. Also, here, another one that got a lot of developer support. People were very excited about it, and a lot of people still are very excited about it because it is so, I don't want to say mind-blowing, that's kind of a strong word, but it does offer a lot of things that these other ones don't, these popular ones don't, and that's Svelte. Svelte is popular amongst developers, but as far as commercial adoption, we might be waiting a few years, if ever. But it's really been solidified just everywhere that React, it's number one. It's number one. You probably won't read about it in a peer-reviewed journal saying that, but as far as the opportunities, as far as the community, as far as cool things being built with it. Now, mind you, a lot of things are being built with Polymer, Spine, and To Do MVC. But what I'm saying is, React has got everything going for it. Okay, they're everything. Plus, developed by React. Like I said before, even people who have no idea what JavaScript is, they hear that a company like Facebook has developed this thing to solve a business problem. Well, it must be good. Let's start doing projects in React. But has anyone used something that, like, we've never heard of, like nuclear. There's probably a few people who have used this, right? Backbone, heard of. Why isn't Knockout on here? That was one that I have used before in a for-profit setting. That needs to be, they need to add that one. Spine. Here, Knockout is here. This was one of the earliest. Knockout was before, it predates any of this modern React and React nonsense. React's not nonsense, I'm just kidding. But Knockout is one of the OGs from the beginning where people were like, oh, this is neat. Dojo. HyperApp is supposed to be super small. I've never worked with it. Also, Preact is supposed to be, Preact is like, so I'll just read the definition instead of making myself look like a fool. Fast 3KB React alternative with the same modern API, components, and virtual DOM. So it's like React minified and smooshed to get some better performance. What are you developers working with front-end JavaScript frameworks? What are you studying? And if you're employed right now as a developer, what are you using at work? Let me know in the comments, because this is an interesting thing, because web development is constantly changing. It's one of our biggest gripes as developers collectively. You're always learning something, and there's a framework of the week. So it's going to be interesting to see all these projects being built in React, and people are, it's cynical and sad that developers are thinking, okay, what's the next big thing? Like, React's a pretty big thing. Why can't it just continue to be a big thing? But there's always something else coming aboard on the hype train to topple any given technology. And then, yeah, and that's all I'll say on that for now. So let me stop this screen share. And hi, and I will go to the comments here and see what is going on. Paradoodly-doo asks a great question. What's the benefit of using a less popular framework? Well, here's the first thing that came to my mind is that if you're like an artistic, precious person who either has spent or does spend a lot of time in the attic acting precious, artistic type here, so you can feel like you're in like the cool esoteric crowd. Like, yeah, dude, I develop with the simple framework. Kind of a big thing, kind of the new React. There are a lot of people in this community who are early adopters. And when something that you adopt early actually becomes a de facto standard in so many places, it feels good. It feels validating. Like, yeah, it's kind of like listening to that artist before they blow up. Like, yeah, I was listening to Taylor Swift when she was like at the open mic scene doing Linda Ronstadt covers or whatever. Like, whatever. You were there before anyone else. So that's like a psychological benefit. But as far as a business benefit, the thing with frameworks and these pre-built things, framework, library, module, whatever, no matter if it's popular or not, there are variations to these things. So for the most part, these front-end frameworks are trying to do all the same basic, big basic things, but then there's just like little tiny variations. And sometimes these little tiny variations solve a business problem. That's when it really does have a business benefit. For example, Mithral. I have no idea what it does. Okay, this is my third time seeing the actual word. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. I've never used it. Don't know anyone who does. But if you investigate it as a developer or as a manager at one of these companies, you may find out that it has these options for you to use that are going to fit perfectly with the problem you need to solve. React is great, but it doesn't solve all the problems. And sometimes these things are built so that it does solve a very specific set of problems, so that instead of your developers having to like, just give all of their mental energy to solving these problems using something like React, they could for example, use Mithral and not get that pushback and have just a smoother, more efficient developer experience. But I mean, it's hard if you're a developer and you're trying to bring something to the table when it comes to like when it comes to like a stakeholder meeting or something. So you have your managers, your middle management, maybe the owner of the company, if it's a smaller company, at this round table talking about Marco or Mithral. Those aren't words. You're speaking a foreign language. So it's a hard sell with these smaller frameworks where you could just say, React, okay, you've never heard of it. Facebook uses it. I mean, everyone knows what that means. Everyone knows Facebook is a multi-billion-dollar company. And yeah, there's a lot of shady stuff going on with them, but someone's making money there. So it's just an easier sell. Let's go back to the comments here. Joshua, we didn't do a roll call. Brandon, Sarah, Randy, Sabat, Candace, Dana, and Jags. Niket, Paradoodly Doo, Wolfie Master, Wild Pants, Rebecca. Let's see, Vibe Javi, Code Zero. How's everyone doing? TGIF. Faraday, how's it going? Faraday Academy has a channel. She's been doing a lot of free code camp stuff. Some of you are maybe familiar with her channel and her work with free code camp. Check out her channel, Faraday. Pop the link to your YouTube channel so people can check it out. She does Vue tutorials, does a lot of interviews with different people with different topics. Good to see you here. Let's see. Joshua Abraham says, if React sucked, it wouldn't be so popular. Business owners adopt things that help them, period. There's a lot to talk about with that comment. If I have time, I'll go back to that comment because various points just in that sentence that are interesting. Code Zero says the advantage of Svelte is that it doesn't require a runtime. Moreno KV, how's it going? Michael Pierce says, hi, here for the roll call. Woo! What's up? Yes. If you're just joining us, welcome. We're talking about the best JavaScript framework for 2020. Now, technically, because I think I did like skim over a comment that someone mentioned something about libraries. I didn't read the full comment, but technically React is a library. But because it is so popular, because it has all this bells and whistles, it gets lumped in with the frameworks. There might even be some more. I'm not sharing my screen right now, but let me, you know what? I'm going to share this. If you guys want to check it out and it's kind of a fun little list. So there may be some more libraries bumped and jumped and commingled. Let's see. Coder B says, this isn't a JavaScript thing, but a not known language, AL code, AKA application language. This is my life at the moment. Would love to be in JavaScript right now. Application language, Coder B. So what do you build with AL code? Are you at a company right now? Tell us more. I'm interested. AQ Boggy, what's up? Lots of people here. So I'm going to go back up here. Leonardo Chica, Janos, Beverly 2J, Austin. How's it going? Sarge, Aldine Malik. Hello. Rocky Dodds. How's it going? Daniel Montoya. All right. Louise says, I'm just here for the random tips. Keep rolling the comments. Also, big time shout out to Sarah and Paradoodly Doo, who are moderators today in the live. They are keeping things in check. So let's go back. I'm going to share my screen again. Let me share the screen. Share the screen. All this list. I did share the chat if you want to follow along at home. So let's just check out. Paradoodly Doo had a great question. What's the benefit of using a lesser known framework? So Mithral. Let's check this out, huh? My internet connection is unstable. That's not the only thing that's unstable. Just kidding. Mithral JS. Yum. Okay. So what are we working with as far as, I'm curious. GitHub star game is a dangerous game to play. When I worked in enterprise, first enterprise job, my senior developer was obsessed with Vue. He loved it. He loved it. Star rating of his beloved Vue. And when it hit 100,000 stars, he was en fuego. He wore Vue shirts. He used to work. Every time I saw him, his face just turned into like green V. And I found myself being brainwashed. My eyes were swirling and I was saying to myself, Vue, Vue, Vue. These stars compel people in ways that border on the, so this Mithral.js has 10,300 stars. And so what can we determine from that metric? 12,300 people thought this was kind of cool. So they said, yep, I approve, bink. Other than that, it doesn't say much about what it does, how useful it is for common business problems or personal problems for that matter. I don't know. I just think the star system is one of those social media metrics where it's just like, kind of like you got to check to see if you're going to get that dopamine rush. You're like, yes, please like my post. Please like my post. This is like the equivalent of like a thumbs up. Like, yes, 12,000 people like this post. Yes. But anyway, so 337 watchers, 922 forks. Let's see if it's even being, so the last update, we had some document or docs update the installation markdown file 12 days ago. Okay, so it's still active. A lot of this stuff 3 years ago. So, you know, various updates here and there. What is Mithral? That's what I'm looking for. A modern client-side JavaScript framework for building SPAs. It's small, fast, and provides routing and XHR utilities out the box. Mithral is used, wait a minute, what? Why has no one told me this? Mithral is used by companies like Vimeo and Nike and open source platforms like Lichess. Mithral supports IE 11, Firefox ESR, and the 2 latest versions of Firefox, Edge, Safari, and Chrome. No polyfills required. I wonder if this is current. And I want to get, I wish I had more time in my week. I'm interested in reading more. I love case studies, like whether it has to do with code or not. Case studies in this context of what companies used, which technologies and why. And I know there are some chats and what do you call it, like screen grabs from people who are giving presentations, webinars and stuff where they explain their stack, their company's tech stack. There's like open source conference footage of people who are talking about Netflix. So that was a cool one, but I want to see more, like what is the story of Nike adopting Mithral? Because sometimes that's even more illuminating. The case study can be more illuminating than just reading the narrative here on this page. Documentation is on mithral.org. And even still, look at this. Mithral has an active and welcoming community on Gitter. Feel free to ask questions on Stack Overflow. I'll pass using the Mithral.js tag. But yeah, so relatively 12,000 people saying, 12,000 plus people saying, yes, I approve of this framework via the star button. That's nothing to be ashamed of. That's pretty impressive, considering there are millions of repos on GitHub, many of which are never even viewed by anyone except the creator. So what I'm saying is, even though it's relatively, compared to the other frameworks, this is a relatively underground one, but even still, it has a community on Gitter, which is like almost like Discord. I had a Gitter chat room for RealToughCandy before we had our Discord, which, by the way, Sarah Para, can you share our Discord? Also for realtoughcandy.io, we are going to be having some more rooms on Discord dedicated to each course, so that you can, share your projects. You can meet other developers and network that way and get some feedback on what you're learning and what you're doing on the platform. So just to remind you, but this Gitter thing reminded me of Real Tough Candy's humble beginnings on Gitter. Okay, so it's really not doing it for me, just this tiny thing, but I'm sure if I could go to, I'm sure if I went to the documentation, I'd feel better about my life, but we have other things to do here. So Marco was kind of the same. We're kind of in the same bracket with these metrics. When was the last update? 23 hours ago. Okay, so it's still active. Have 115 issues, a few pull requests, but that's the thing, going back to Paradoodly-Doo's question, what's the benefit? This is another benefit of working with these smaller frameworks, these less popular frameworks. You have more of an opportunity to make an impact as an open source contributor. So if that's something you're interested in, if you're interested in being a significant part of a project's improvement, this could be a great way to start. Because let's be honest, everyone and their mom, well, maybe not your mom, but every developer, it seems like, listen, I'm generalizing, just go with it. Every developer has seen React. We've probably seen some React code. It has a very wide footprint. Like, it's a footprint of a giant. But with something like Marco, it's more difficult to remain in the shadows when you're working on a small project. And so therefore you stand out more significantly as a contributor when you're contributing to this type of project. So here is what they're saying about Marco. Marco is Marco is HTML reimagined as a language for building dynamic and reactive, excuse me, do we see a pattern here? Reactive user interfaces. Just about any valid HTML is valid Marco, but Marco extends the HTML language to allow building modern applications in a declarative way. Among these extensions are conditionals, lists, state, and components. Marco supports both single file components and components broken into separate files. Okay. All right, multi-file component. I like that they have snippets here and examples. Concise syntax. Marco also supports a beautifully concise syntax as an alternative to its, I can't speak today, as an alternative to its HTML syntax. So concise syntax, npm install Marco. Come hang out in our Gitter chat room. Tweet to the dev team. So this is an example too. Even if you don't want to become a contributor to these smaller frameworks, these smaller libraries, you have a better chance at getting a personalized response, because I promise you, the Marco dev team has much less traffic and much less to file through than someone like Dan Abramov, who is, one of those kingpins, a kingpin React expert, and he's a very popular dude. It probably doesn't have time to respond to every tweet and DM, but not to say that these guys are going to guarantee. They're going to guarantee respond. I cannot speak. Not to say these guys will respond to you, but you have a better chance. Contributor list. Yeah, you can have your picture right here, and it's a great freaking bullet point on a resume. Paradoodly-doo, I'm so glad you asked that question. If you have a contribution to make to Marco and it's legit, like, that's a huge bullet point. So much stuff is happening in React. And it's been, this is the downside, is that because there are less maintainers, the problems sometimes go unaddressed for longer periods of time, like the bugs. It takes longer to discover these edge cases and these rando bugs because there's not, 2 million people pouring through the code base and trying these weird experiments on the code when you compare it to something like React or Angular. Let's go to the comments. Let me end the thingy. Let's go to the comments here. Tech Rally, what's up? Eddie Jouad. Hey, Eddie, I recognize that name. I think Eddie has a YouTube channel too. Developers, listen, if you're in the chat right now and you have a freaking YouTube channel, this is my invitation. This will not be marked as spam. If you have a developer YouTube channel, which Faraday, Eddie, and I think someone else here, there's like 3 people, Tech Rally, and you feel like sharing your channel, please do. It's great meeting other creators in this chat right now and seeing that you're there. Let's see the comments. Subham Cigar says, hey, it's 3:30 a.m., but I am here to watch. I appreciate that, Subham. That's pretty late. I'm a total night owl. So like, honestly, 3:30, it is very late, but that's when I'm like in the zone. That's where I'm just like, have you guys seen that Ace Ventura GIF where he's just like, that's me on the keyboard. I'm like drinking mochas at midnight. I had a nitro pour at like 2 a.m. the other night. It was amazing. I was in my zone. But I had something to say, when don't I? But I had something to say about React. What was it? Oh, let me share this screen once more. Let me do this. Google Chrome. Let me share this. So listen, React is super popular. We know this, right? Let's go to its actual page here. 153,000 stars, 30,000 darn near forks, almost 7,000 people watching this. Look at all, look, it last updated 2 hours ago, 11 days ago. Yeah, I mean, obviously this is a very active repo. It's huge. So all that said, even though React is like really rocking it right now, it's not without its issues. You know what I really loathe about React? Now here's like developer rant mode. React is great. It pays. Okay, let's just stop right there. It pays. So I could stop right there, but let's be a little more comprehensive. I cannot stand JSX. And no, you don't have to use JSX, but it does make your developer life easier. It's just after all these years and all of these kingpins saying, do not mix your HTML with your JavaScript, like the clapback, do not mix, like all this crap is jumbled in your component and it's just, and now it's the de facto thing. I think, now this is just RTC prediction mode, but I think that is going to come back and bite a lot of developers in the butt. This is just, it's terrible practice. When has that ever been a good practice? That's like separation of concerns, people. It's like programming 101. But just like I talk about in my UX UI course, once you get to a certain point, you can break the rules. Like Amazon, we talked about this last week on the live stream. Amazon, obviously, I mean, a top company, top tier, no doubt, indubitably. They have one of the worst UXs on their landing page. I go to that landing page and I freak out because there's literally, once you hover over that nav bar and go to one of their menus, there's like literally 70 freaking options. Where else would that work? If that was a no-name site, people would be like, yeah, this sucks. But because it's Amazon, they get away with it. So what I'm saying is, at a certain point, it's almost like too big to fail. Like, oh, it's React. Millions of people are doing it and rendering it. I guess they are rendering it too. But there are some not so awesome things about React that I just don't care for. There is no perfect, and that's maybe bringing us to our next point, that despite React being popular, i.e. has a great community, despite React being bountiful in the jobs area, you know, you go to Indeed, you go to these other job boards, they say React. If they don't say React, they say Angular. So just to be fair, don't want to dismiss Angular, but I mean, with the, there are more, I think, more modern learning materials with React also. And the other thing, Angular doesn't have going for it is that it totally burned developers when they went from AngularJS and totally rewrote it. And then they lost a lot of confidence. They lost a lot of trust with developers when they did that. So hopefully that won't be the case with React because, and also Vue. I'm not sure of the whole story with Vue, but I know it was last year, there were some changes with Vue where the creator, Evan You, he lost a lot of funding because of the changes that him and his team made to his framework. I don't know if it's been remedied. I don't know what the final verdict was on that, but I just remember the no goodness of it. I don't want to say drama, but a lot of people just weren't pleased, and so they brought their money elsewhere. But where was I going with this? Where was I going? So React, popular, yes, it pays the bills. It's popular. It has a great community. I really don't know what I was going to say after that. Just that something else is going to come and replace it soon, and that and if that doesn't happen, it's going to be a first. So either way, it's going to be a notable thing where it's like, wow, React hasn't been dethroned. There have been valiant attempts. Svelte is really cool. I know Tech Rally, weren't you messing with Svelte? I thought someone in the community is like Sammy Turner is very excited about Svelte, and there was somebody else, I think it was Tech Rally, and it's a fun little framework. But it never, you need a huge backing. Now, if Amazon, I don't know if Amazon's a good example because they probably have a framework. It's just proprietary, or they haven't promoted it, or they don't have a team. But another example of a big company, I think Polymer is based on Google. I think this is a Google project. Is that correct? Which is web components, and that's a whole another story and something to talk about for another day. But when I discovered web components, because of React and some other factors, web components are dead by most people's standards. And it's a shame. Web components are so cool. When I was building my portfolio, I was building some projects and I had this particular problem and I wanted to solve it, obviously, because we're problem solvers. And I couldn't figure out how to do it, but I was reading about web components and there was a certain technique using web components that solved my problem. But unfortunately, web components just, they're on the back burner. They're not on a burner. So Polymer is it safe to say Polymer's legacy at this point? I don't know if that's really fair. But the community, probably a good community too. But I just, in my sphere, I don't hear about it. But this is, yeah, I mean, even something Google backed. And that's the funny thing too, is that these big tech companies have a lot of projects that never go anywhere. You just don't hear about them. Like Google, there's a site, or there used to be, called Google Graveyard. And all it is a site dedicated to Google projects that were just not good, or they were good and they just never got that push, or, various other factors. But, you have to remember that these companies don't bat 1,000. Like, they have a lot of misses, but they're not going to advertise those misses. They're companies. Their job is to look good, not talk about their failures and say why it was a failure. And yes, we lost $10 million because we tried working on this project and it didn't work. They're going to focus on their wins, like React. Let me check out this simple. I'm very curious. Now, I just want to see. Simple is a simple JavaScript framework to create SPAs. The simple and intuitive API is based on JavaScript classes and accessors, which are accessible to all application developers of varying skills. The requirement to start your first project with simple is basic knowledge of JavaScript. See, that's kind of cool. I like seeing these things that are kind of entry level to something like React and something that has a lot of moving parts. I think these you can kind of see it as like a training framework. As we see more of these, I like it because learning web development or learning any type of software development can seem so segmented. So like the popular battle cry in web development is, okay, your first segment, HTML and CSS, then go learn your JavaScript, then go learn a framework. But between those segments is a transition period, because I don't know about you, but going from HTML and CSS to JavaScript is like going 100 miles an hour on a motorcycle and then hitting a brick wall. JavaScript is a completely different beast than HTML and CSS. Yes, you're doing stuff in the browser. Yes, you're coding. Yes, you're working on that muscle memory, but JavaScript is a programming language. You're programming. HTML is a markup language. So there's a big difference. And I guess, according to sources, HTML and CSS are Turing complete. CSS is Turing complete. I don't know about HTML. But CSS just has rules, a lot of rules that just don't make any sense. At least with JavaScript, yes, there are rules that don't make any sense, but they're like, you can kind of work through it. Like, okay, so if this is false and this must be true, like, it's hard. How can I articulate this? I'm digging myself into a hole. But it's easier to track the methods to the madness in JavaScript than in CSS. That said, going from that mode, HTML and CSS to JavaScript, is really hard. And then you have your basic JavaScript and then you go to React. That's hard too. So if we can have more intermediate, these transitional frameworks, transitional playgrounds that help you move from segment to segment, that help you move from HTML and CSS to JavaScript. So I still think we need some sort of like transitional framework or transitional playground there. And then from JavaScript to these frameworks, something like simple could be very cool, because it says, even down here, due to the extreme simplicity of the framework, even novice web developers can quickly start to do small, then medium, and then large web applications. And I think that's what we need to see more of, is this granular approach to programming, because it's just like, oh, here's a steel anvil, boom, go learn JavaScript. Here's another anvil, boom, go learn Angular. Like, it's more granular than that. And we need, I think developers just need more finely engineered things so that they can be onboarded and not get turned off and be like, well, this is too hard, I quit. So this could be cool. This might be something I'll have to check out later. Because even something like Svelte, yeah, it's easy to use, but it's definitely not for noobs. Generally speaking, unless you need to know some JavaScript before you start working on any JavaScript framework, you're just going to code yourself into a corner otherwise. But I want to check this out. This means that web studios, so look at this. They even have this is part of their business needs section. So they're thinking progressively here as far as making money and building opportunities for this adoption in enterprise. This means that web studios are able to save money by hiring younger professionals who in turn could not find a job before. Oh, I like this thinking. I like this thinking. So this is an example of a framework that, I haven't looked at the code yet, but according to them, theoretically, this solves a significant problem. Web studios are able to save money by hiring younger professionals who in turn could not find a job before. This progressive enhancement, if you will. Very cool. Has anybody worked with simple? I will never tire of saying that. Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to check this out later. Maybe this weekend. It's going to be hot AF this weekend, and I'm not going anywhere. I can't do the heat. Backbone, Dojo, HyperApp. Has anybody worked with HyperApp? Here's another one that I hear a lot about. Never used it. But going back to the major point of this video, if you are thinking about just going right into a full-fledged framework / library that has jobs, there's a pool of jobs that say, we want React developers. Okay, check. It pays, check. It has a community, check. You can actually build projects with it. Check. There are a lot of examples of previous work. Check. React and Angular. And that's it. Ember used to be really big and it's still used. I mean, listen, just because I'm saying React, these are the main attractions, okay? These are like greatest hits, React, Angular. Are you going to be closed out of the job market if you go learn Ember? No. But there are just less opportunities available. Ember used to be really big. And just because I'm talking about React and Angular doesn't mean these other ones are dead. It just means they're less used. Although for Polymer, I don't know. Our original web component library, I wish web components could have had a future. I wish they would. I wish everyone knew how to work with web components. Let's see what's going on. Oh, material. Wait, what? Material design for Bootstrap 4? What's this all about? Why is this in the Java? What? Demonite's Material UI is a cross-platform and fully responsive front-end interface based on Google Material Design and developed using Bootstrap 4? Wait, I feel like I know all of this, and why am I acting shocked? A secondary goal is to add support for unique Google Material Design, blah, blah. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, I know what this is. I've worked with this, but not Material. Okay, Material UI, duh. This is not something I've worked with in a for-profit setting, but I have worked with it before. Svelte Neo. What's Neo? Anybody work with Neo out there? Let's see. Also, Paradoodly-doo let me know last week. Let me take this off screen share. Paradoodly-doo let me know last week that somebody, and I'm sorry I can't remember your name, this person has been watching this channel since I started in 2017. Thank you so much for your support and just, wow, 3 years? That's really awesome. Thank you so much. I don't remember who it was. Maybe they're even here right now. Eddie Jawad said Rust seems to be growing. Yes, Eddie, listen, Rust is dope. Especially with just, I don't know. Do I want to go on a tangent? WebAssembly. We just talked about web components. WebAssembly, not components, assembly. This is RIP web components, but let's see it happen. WebAssembly. With Rust, oh, blazing fast. I'm excited to see. This is going to be like biblical times where people are speaking like 5,000 languages, and we're going to need a miracle to like get ourselves out of it, because we're going to have these developers working with these super fast languages on the web, and JavaScript developers and PHP developers are going to be like, I guess I better go learn Rust and C#. Like, it's going to be interesting, and I'm really excited to see it. Is Vlaslo here today? I know Vlaslo was talking about Rust, and a few other people have an interest in Rust. I know I also do, and I've tried to sit down. I just don't have the time for personal projects. This last year, I've been so busy building things, building my business, and doing more business stuff that, you know, I have to like delegate those tasks. But I do need to sit down and just have some personal time so I can have fun again with programming on my personal time, and Rust is on that list. But yeah, has anyone used R before? That's a language that's kind of not applicable to what we do here as web developers, and adjacent, but R looks pretty cool. Let's see. Donovan's here. Hey, Donovan. Woo! We have a lot of channel members here. Donovan, Candice, Dana and Jax. There was William Claybrook. Awesome. Great to see you guys. Thank you for your support. If their name is green and they have a piece of candy next to their name, they are a financial supporter of this channel. Thank you so much. They also have a few custom emojis. Did I add the Karen emoji on this? I added the Karen emoji on Discord. Fortunately, we haven't had to use it that much. I don't know why we haven't been using it. If I could only talk to the manager, we could figure it out. We have, just don't get me started. We have some funny emojis. But my YouTube channel members also have some custom emojis and stuff. So thank you for your support on that. Faraday says, yes, I think R is harder to use than Python, and I don't see any benefit over using Python. I was actually curious about that because Python is such an awesome language. I mean, it's a shame that it isn't more applicable in web development because for me personally, it's my favorite language. It's my favorite language to recommend to people who don't know what flavor they want to do of software development. You just can't go wrong with Python. You can build anything with it, games, web, data, anything with data, all those, man, numbers. I mean, well, I'm generalizing, but it's so applicable to just about everything. Statistics. Let's see. Let's check out these comments about these frameworks. Eddie says, so many projects I wasn't aware of. Better to pick up a project that is growing in the community. Right? Now, let me share my screen again. Because this, let's see. Hold on a sec. So there actually aren't that many on here relative to how many exist in the wild. Even the less popular ones like Mithral and Marco, they're still pretty popular. There are frameworks out there with like 10 people who know about them. And some of them may rise to our consciousness. Most of them we're never going to interact with. And this is what is so awesome about open source. Like open source is such a double-edged sword when we're talking about making a career out of it, because on one hand, open source doesn't pay the bills. There's only so many people who can buy you a coffee or press the buy coffee button when you're working on these projects. On the other hand, if you have a business, think about it. How much would it cost your team? If let's just say you're a business owner for a second, you have a team of developers, or you're thinking about hiring one. How much would it cost to hire a team to build something proprietary like React? Now think about it, not just the initial planning, architecting, and building, but the real money, the real cost is going to be the maintenance. Because it's proprietary, you don't have an open source community. You cannot share the code, or you will not share the code with the public. So everything has to be done in-house. The testing, the debugging, the documentation, general maintenance, general upgrades. Millions of dollars, millions, just before even anything goes wrong. You're investing millions of dollars in this thing. And so that's why open source is so promising. Because do you know how much we paid? How much did $1 million, a company that generates $10 million in profit a year on their e-commerce site using React, how much did they pay for React? Zero. They paid for developers, they paid for developer time to customize it, but for the actual license, it didn't cost them a thing. That's what's amazing about open source. And that reminds me, a couple years ago, React was, now this is where I will use some drama, because I will use the word drama because there was some drama. It was like 2 or 3 years ago when React's license was getting a little fishy. They were getting a little greedy with what they're going to track and how you could use the license, to the point where WordPress, because their Gutenberg editor, and I think some other, there may be more, they were saying, we'll just rewrite this in something else because we are not going to use React with this license. So there was a lot of community pushback. Fortunately, after like a couple months of people saying this is not legit, this isn't right, you don't have a right to spy on us, this license is too ambiguous, they improved the license, and they might have gone, I don't know what the license is. Is it based on MIT? I don't know. MIT is the most liberal of all the licenses. You can do just about anything with it. Wow, look at all this. if you're a real developer with a real lot of time on your hands, go check out this license and look at all these changes. But yeah, this is just drop the year from Facebook copyright headers and the license file. This is just dropping the copyright headers. Am I reading? Okay. Oh, did you guys see that? Did you guys see that? Look at that. MIT license. It wasn't always like that, or they didn't plan on it being like that at first. But because of the community, they changed it, which I'm really surprised a company that big would listen to the community. Yeah, so interesting. Anyways, that was so even in smaller communities, relatively smaller communities, because even though, yes, React is huge, every developer has heard of it, our career field is pretty small. I was reading some silly statistic the other day. I don't know the source, don't quote me, but I swore it said there are 17 million programmers on planet Earth. I said, no way, 17 million? Maybe if you count like people doing WordPress and stuff, but like, how do you even gauge the worldwide count of developers? Because guess what? We don't need a license to practice what we do. That's another topic for another day. This is one of the only, if not the only, professional level career field. I don't mean bartenders. I mean like lawyer, doctor, etc., where you're getting six figures, where you don't need to pass a bar exam. I mean, for crying out loud, you need a license to paint nails, to do nails. You need a license to cut hair. Unless you're like Auntie Wanda outside the Dead Mall in like the 94 Econoline van doing it, doing a cash only business. But I mean like legit business. You don't need a license to code. So that's why it is hard to track like who's doing what, because there's no official way to register. Like you don't have to. So that's also a double-edged sword in many ways. Developers, listen, it's 5:23. We've been talking about these frameworks for about an hour. I am going to give the 5-minute warning. This stream is going to be ending pretty soon. So thank you for tuning in. Best framework 2020, Angular, React. If we're talking about jobs, if we're talking about community, with those 2 points meeting, we're talking about jobs here, community here, Angular and React. Now, can this change at any time? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. But who knows? I was going to say, well, you know, I really don't know. Like, who really knows? We're always having something pop up when least expected, or maybe you're always expecting it. I'm always expecting something to pop up. But at the same time, I'm like, wow, that's surprising. I wasn't expecting that. Yet I was. Thank you so much, developers, for your unmitigated support. Unceasing. Amazing. I am so hyped. We are so excited, me and the team at RealToughCandy.io, to be launching this thing. Again, August 24th is when we are going live. You can buy the monthly, you can buy the yearly. There are more. If you do a yearly plan, there are bonuses there too, not available with the monthly. Or if you want a course and you never want to talk to me again, that's totally cool too. I won't take it personally, because you can buy the course a la carte. And it's a lifetime access. So we have all those options. We have an awesome community, and it's just getting bigger over on the Discord. Great people in the chat, even in the live right here. And I'm so thrilled that so many people are interested. Developers, if you go to realtoughcandy.io right now, it's a big screen that says this school is not published. I had 10 people sign up the other day. They can't enroll. They can't look at the courses. They can't do anything there, but they still signed up. And the purpose of the purpose of the platform is so that you can level up, land a job, and get a raise, and that's it. Practical, actionable steps without you wasting years of your time, months of your time. Your time's valuable, whether you know it or not. Even if you have a lot of it, it's valuable. So we don't waste your time, and it's practical, actionable steps that you can start using right today. We don't do cookie cutter projects. You don't create stuff. You improve stuff. You improve things that you already have so that you can be a contender in this job force. We had a live stream a few weeks ago talking about the junior developer market being flooded. And it's going to get worse because people aren't going to college because it's online, and people are thinking about other places, other things they can do, because who wants to spend $80,000 going to school online and not knowing how that's going to work out? Less people enrolling in college this fall. So what are they doing? They're learning new skills. They're going online to learn these other skills. They're accenting their main thing with their side thing, which is learning how to code. So it's, what I'm saying is, it's very important that you stand out as a candidate, because it's hard getting a job as a junior. This platform is going to help you get to that next step. And it's going to be fire, developers. I'm warning you now, it's going to be fire. Just working really hard on that, making sure it's going to be the best experience possible, and a platform that values your time. All right. So that said, I'm going to log off. Thank you for your support. I know I said it so many times. Hopefully you found this video helpful. I guess I can stop sharing this now. Shout out to my channel subscribers, my patrons, Chiquito. I haven't seen Chiquito, man. Where has he been? He has to know what he's doing for this channel. He bought this for me, so with his support. As always, developers, thank you for tuning in. I will see you in the next video. Let me end this thing.